All right. How about if we start with wishing Samboni a happy birthday? We'll start with some good news, all right? Happy birthday. I'm here with Jake Warner. We're hanging out right here in crypto. And you know what I'd like to do to start KingsTalk? I usually start with the 3 King stars of the game. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a moment to build it up tonight to get to our 3 stars of the game because, frankly, it's going to be a little difficult to get there. I really, in many ways, I was so prepared to come in here today and talk about this game because the story was going to be Sidney Crosby versus Anze Kopitar. This was going to be the final matchup in this building between Kopitar and Crosby. I was very excited. I was going to have an entire debate with myself about whose career would you rather have, Kopitar, Crosby, or Ovechkin. Kopi, Ovi, or Crosby. And then we start with some unfortunate news that Kopitar, unfortunately, is not playing in this game, and we'll find out some more information. Right now, we'll call it day-to-day. For those that were watching the Minnesota game, which, by the way, was a spectacular finish. That game for the Kings to storm back with 3 goals in the third period. Loved everything about that third period, except for one thing. If you go back and watch and listen to that game, Kempe had a blast of a shot towards the net. And guess what it hit? Kopitar square in the foot. And you could see in that moment, Kopitar looks at Kempe saying, what are you doing? Kempe was looking at Kopitar like, man, I was headed for the net. And Kopitar, of course, came back out, played the rest of that game. He was fine. But now X-ray, etc., and we will find out. Kopitar will eventually be back. We'll find out when. And Darcy Kuemper. Now, we'll get to that. Goaltending certainly played a role in the game this evening. And I know Jeff is lining up and has all the goals lined up, and we will get to that. You know what we like to do here on KingsTalk? Let's set it up for you. We're going to go through all the goals. We're going to give out 3 Kings stars of the game in this 4-2 loss at home to the Penguins. And then eventually we're going to get to some Jim Hiller sound. We're going to tell you what's up next for the Kings as well. And most importantly, we're going to hear from you. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-ESPN. Give us a call because, frankly, there is a lot to say about this Kings season so far. There are reasons why this Kings team is not up to par yet. There are reasons why this Kings team is 1-3-1. And there are also reasons why there is still plenty of room for optimism for this Kings team. But right now, I don't know that I have that immediately. And frankly, I know that you on the phones won't have that answer immediately because it hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been good enough. And potentially, you're right now without your starting goaltender in Kuemper. And you're without Mr. Kopi Tour, as I like to say, because this season is the Kopi Tour. So we don't have Kopitar right now either. And things look a little wobbly. But here at KingsTalk, we're going to settle that down. You're here with Sam Betesh, a.k.a. Samboni. Yes, this wasn't the birthday gift that I was expecting from the Kings. I really, when this first period ended, I'm thinking to myself, all right, tonight is going to be a great night. And largely it was. Unfortunately, and we're going to go through this goal by goal, but unfortunately, once again, we have to talk about penalties with the Kings. And I haven't said it yet, but the one guy who's going to say I didn't play well enough this night is certainly Anton Forsberg. Anton Forsberg had a great chance in this game this evening to say this team is okay when Kuemper has to miss the game. And now, unfortunately, everybody has to wonder, is that the case? I was ready through one period to say, oh, wow, this is going to be interesting. Forsberg's got the 1 win in the shootout in Vegas, and he's going to have the 2nd win on the season here, and you're going to start to hear people say, oh, I wonder what the goaltending situation is. There's no issue with goaltending. Kuemper is going to be fine. This is not going to be a long-term injury, and Kuemper will be back. Forsberg, frankly, is still an excellent backup goaltender in this league, but he will tell you 1,000% he was not good enough on this night. And it comes down to, eventually we'll hear it, that second goal by the Penguins is just inexcusable. It's not a goal that you're going to see very often in this league. And only the Sharks have a more brutal defeat based on goaltending as far as I've seen so far this season. Their first game of the season was a dreadful way to finish a game from a goalie's perspective. So don't worry, Forsberg, you don't have the worst game of the season for sure. But this one, unfortunately, largely is going, I know he's going to take that on himself, and he's going to say, I wasn't good enough. I can be better. I have been better, and we will see better days out of Forsberg. But unfortunately, that was not the case. And against the team which has the talent level of the Penguins, I'm not going to say as good as the Penguins. Now, look, as much as the Penguins weren't supposed to be great this season, they're a 3-2 hockey club right now. I didn't see that coming. Many prognosticators didn't have that. In fact, the number one story for the Penguins coming into the season was, after 20 seasons in a Penguin sweater, were we going to see Sidney Crosby at the trade deadline on another team? Now, that could still happen, but right now, the Penguins are thinking they are a playoff team. They're not thinking about Crosby going somewhere else right now, and Crosby capped the night with an empty netter. But let's go through it. I know Jeff's got all the goals lined up. This game started at a great pace for the Kings, even though, as I mentioned, it started with a bit of a downer. Not only did we get the news before the game that Kemper was not going to be available, Kemper was not going to start this game, and Kemper, in fact, wasn't even going to suit up for this game. So that was a bit of bad news. But then on top of that, we find out right before the game, no Anze Kopitar. In a game where we think it's going to be Crosby and Kopitar, the two legends going at it, we find out, unfortunately, no Kopitar. But you did see two legends on the ice this evening, and you heard their name a lot. Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. We heard those names a lot. Unfortunately for Crosby, we heard him in the penalty box twice. I'm sure he wasn't expecting that. But Malkin's first goal was great, and let's go through all the goals right now. This game started where the Kings had the ice tilted in their favor, and without question, at even strength, if you look at this entire game, the Kings were the better team. It's not going to happen on the score sheet. They're not going to get any points for it. It's unfortunate. I'm telling you right now, for those in the building, they knew it. For those watching this game and those listening to this game on ESPN LA, they knew the Kings were the better team in this building this evening on even strength. Unfortunately, the entire game was not even strength, but early on it started like that. We're going to go back to this game being scoreless, and Jeff, if you've got it, let's go to the first goal. This building was hyped when the Kings made it 1-0.
Under pressure, nearly gave it away, and then did to Fogle. Smacks it up the wall. Ceci holds it in toward the right circle. A wrist shot and a kick saved by Seelovs. Then again, they score! Warren Fogle on the second try. And from the base of the right circle, he fires it in past Seelovs. His first of the year makes it 1-0 LA.
I'm going to tell you something. That goal felt like, wow, the Kings can do whatever they want. The Kings were all over the Penguins early in this game. It was 1-0, and as great as that goal was, and as great as everybody in the building felt at that point, 1-0, I'll tell you right now, this second goal, now it's not the prettiest goal of the Kings this season, because we know, Jake, I already called that. The Winnipeg game where you had the spinning backhand from Kuzmenko to the backhand to Kopitar to Kempe, who was parked right in front of the net. That's the prettiest goal of the Kings season. That's the one you got to beat. That's the bar. That goal in Winnipeg is the best goal of the season to this point. But this goal you're about to hear from Jeff in the studio, this goal that made it 2-0, is the second best goal the Kings have scored this season. Let's hear it.
Mantha had it stripped away by Armia. Kings with a 3-on-2 if they hurry. Left wing Armia. Cross ice pass to the right circle. Thrown in front. They score! Armia to Byfield to Fiala near post. Tic-tac-toe goal. And with 10:56 to play in the first, it's 2-0 LA.
Tic-tac-toe. When you hear that in hockey, you know something amazing happened. Tic-tac-toe. What a goal from the Kings to make it 2-0. And I didn't mention Fogle on the first goal. Fogle, by the way, followed up his own rebound twice to get that goal in on the goal that made it 1-0. But 2-0, that was such a pretty goal. You would have sworn that it was on the power play. I could not believe how perfectly precise that was. Camped right next to the goaltender. What a goal we saw from Fiala. That was exceptional. Like I said, it's not the best goal of the season, but it's certainly the second best goal of the season. You love to see that, and it's 2-0, and everything is looking right for the Kings. All right, we go to the first intermission. Second period, no big deal. All of a sudden, the Penguins realize they're down 2-0, and this has got to be something. I mean, you saw Moore run into Turcotte in the second period, and you realize, all right, this is not the Kings period. Something's a little off here. And then what do we see? A Kings penalty. Now, we went through the first period without a Kings penalty. Coming into this game, the Kings had been penalized. They'd have to kill off 22 power plays. The Kings had killed off, or had to kill off, 22 power plays heading into this game this evening. They were the second most penalized team in hockey. It's inexcusable, and I know Hiller wanted to knock it out, and through one period, guess what? They did knock it out. Unfortunately, Byfield, with, I'm not exactly going to call it an avoidable penalty, but you just have to knock it out. And Byfield, frankly, has been in the penalty box too much, and he knows it, but there he was in the penalty box again, and somebody who is no stranger to scoring goals, no stranger to fooling goalies and hitting it right in the 5-hole, Yevgeny Malkin turned this into a game from 2-0 to 2-1.
Malkin holds it in, the big lefty across to the left wing for Rust. Back to Malkin in the middle. He skates up toward the left circle and then shoots, scores! Through Forsberg and into the back of the net. Another power play goal conceded by the Kings. This one in the second, and with 13:23 left in the middle frame, it's 2-1.
So at that point, 23 power plays given up this season for the Kings. Only one in this game at that point, and you're still saying, all right, look, the Kings are in control of this game. It's 2-1. They've largely outplayed the Penguins for all of this game. Unfortunately, now it's a game again. It's 2-1. And then really the moment, if you're a Kings fan, where you said, all right, something's not right this season, because this absolutely looked like a Kings win. It did not feel at all in the building like this was even an opportunity for the Penguins to tie this game. But unfortunately, we're going to hear it right here. This game is tied, and the whole building just exhales. Let's hear it.
Around for Shea. Sends it down the ice. Loose puck into the Kings zone. Back to cut off Achari. Loose puck. They score! Whoa! Another one squeaks past Forsberg. And just like that, from 2-0 to 2-2.
877-710 ESPN. I'm giving out the number because I know that was the moment that every Kings fan said, uh-oh, I might need to call Sam tonight. I might need to call Sam Boney and talk about what's happening, because maybe he'll have answers. Right now, the Kings have one win. It's in a great comeback shootout win in Vegas. And other than that, there's not a win to speak of. I'll take the point in Minnesota. What an awesome effort in that third period. But we're wondering what's happening. This game was 2-2. And that's the goal that Forsberg's going to say, it just cannot happen. That's one where he's backed into his own net, and for some reason, I think he's expecting the shot up high, and you can tell that his leg pad just comes off the ice a little bit, and there's just no way that can happen. Dewar just squeaks it through him there. It's not a high percentage shot. There's really just, in this league, you just don't see a goal scored like that very often, and it's 2-2, and for some reason, it still felt like the Kings are going to win this game. And right after that, Byfield has back-to-back-to-back chances at the net and misses all three of them. Then on the other end, I got to give Brandt Clark credit. He just cleans out a few Penguins that were right there in the net, in the crease in front of Forsberg. Clark had a great game in regards to that. But unfortunately, 23 power plays given up. At the end of the second period, you understand the Kings have been averaging 5.5 penalties per game. That's the second worst in hockey. So it's just not good enough. Even though it was only one at that point, unfortunately it was enough, and the game is tied at 2. So now, Sidney Crosby, by the way, goes off for slashing, his second penalty of the game. Sidney Crosby's in the penalty box twice in this game, and in the third period, you're thinking, all right, here's the moment. Crosby's in the penalty box. The Kings are going to score. Everything's going to be fine, Jake. Samboni's going to have a nice birthday. Everything's going to be all right. The Kings are on a power play, but I got to tell you, without Kopitar, the power play looked, we can understand, it was deflated, but nobody expected the Penguins to take the lead on a shorthanded goal. But let's take a listen. That's exactly what happened.
Around the wall, left wing Deneau lets it go to Doughty up top. He'll backhand it deep. Clark, the defenseman, and after it. It's rolled up the far wall. Here come the Penguins again with a shorthanded chance. LaFerriere back to defend down the middle. Raquel off the post. Rebound right circle. Backhanded toward the net. They score at the near post. Forsberg could not hold his skate at the near post. It's a shorthanded goal for the Penguins, and they lead it 3-2.
Wow. Ugly. I'm just going to say it. It was ugly. And it's ugly because the second goal was not good enough from a goaltending standpoint. And this was another one where, yes, the Penguins are following their rebounds. It was a great effort play, but it's thrown. I mean, when you're even with the net, when you're even with the red line, the goal line at that point, you're not supposed to be able to score. It's got to take an unbelievable play. It's got to be that Michigan play, Jake, where they pick the puck up behind the net, sticks to the guy's, the blade of his stick, and he comes around and sneaks it behind the shoulder of the goalie. All right, I'll take that. If that's the goal, I'll take it. This was not that. This was not that at all. This is just an ugly, inexcusable goal to make it 3-2. And you could even sense there in Josh's voice when you listen to that call, it was just deflating. I mean, it was just something where you couldn't believe it. You were so convinced in that moment that on the power play, the Kings are going to tie it up. And that's not what happened. And unfortunately, it never got any better. It's 3-2, and you're still expecting. I'm looking at the clock. There's 4 minutes to go in the game, and I'm thinking, you know what? This is going to be great. We're going to see overtime again. I love 3-on-3 for my birthday. You know what? They're going to score in overtime on the 3-on-3. You know I hate the shootout, but they're going to score 3-on-3. They're going to pull Forsberg. They're going to tie this game. Well, half of the equation happened, Jake. That's okay. Half of the equation. They did pull Forsberg. Unfortunately, as Jeff is going to play for you right now, it was not the Kings that scored, but this.
43 seconds left. Penguins win a draw in their own zone and send it around the wall. Kings keep it in, rolled in deep, and then they lose possession. Wotherspoon shoots it around the wall, slowed down by Crosby left wing. He tiptoes out to center, shoots, and scores from the red line. Sidney Crosby completes the play. The nicest part of it was that he slowed the puck down at the far wall. And he's got the dagger. The Penguins will score 4 straight, and they lead it 4-2.
Wait, the Kings were leading 2-0? That happened? Wait, what? What? Wait, it was 2. Okay, 2-0 lead into a 4-2 loss, into a 1-3-1 start, and we know that's not good enough. We know that this Kings team had 105 points last season. This Kings team had expectations coming in. And frankly, for those that have been in the building, this Kings team won 31 games right here in this building. This Kings team is outstanding at home and has the potential to rebound right in this building. It's going to happen. But frankly, to this point, the Kings have largely played better on the road. Good news is they'll be on the road again next week. There is a game against Carolina coming up right in this building on Saturday. We'll be right back here. But you're listening to KingsTalk. We've gone through all the goals. Up next, we're going to give you the 3 Kings stars of the game. I will pick them out. It did happen. There were moments for the Kings. Unfortunately, not enough good ones. 877-710-ESPN. 877-710-ESPN. Give us a call right here and let us know what you thought. Let us know who the 3 stars of the game from a Kings perspective were for you, and there were some. There definitely were. The Kings were on the board 2-0. The Kings tipped the ice after the Penguins had tied it at 2. The Kings tipped the ice yet again and had numerous scoring opportunities. There was a chance to win this game. It didn't happen on this evening. 877-710-ESPN. Give us a call right here. Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you think of the Kings season to this point. Let us know how you think they're going to rebound. Let us know who your 3 stars of the game were on this night, and answer my question. I'll get into it next. We'll talk about it. Even though Kopitar didn't play, we'll set it up a little bit. If you could choose one career, would it be Sidney Crosby, 20 seasons in Pittsburgh? Would it be Alexander Ovechkin, 20 seasons in D.C.? Would it be Anze Kopitar, 20 seasons in L.A.? We will find out what you think of that, and I'll set up a little of what I think of that. Even though Kopi didn't play on this night, it's still worth talking about. And if you came to this game tonight because you said, wow, Daddy, can we go to this game? Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are 2 of the best players in the game. They're playing against the Kings. Can we go tonight? Guess what? You got your money's worth, because guess who scored? Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. They both scored goals. The unfortunate part is you wanted both those guys to score in a 3-2 win, and instead it's a 4-2 loss. That's the bad news. But we're right here inside of crypto, 877-710-ESPN. You're here with Sam Betesh, a.k.a. Sam Boney. Yes, it is my birthday. Unfortunately, the Kings did not end up on the right end of this game, but Kings fans, we are here with you. GKG, we will see it again. Go Kings, go. And by the way, Kings fans, this is when your team needs you. And I told you what KingsTalk was about. It's easy when the team wins. That's too easy. That wouldn't be any fun for KingsTalk. We are here to help you and the Kings community cope with losing. It happens once in a while. That's okay. We will recap the Kopi tour. We will tell you our 3 stars of the game. We'll tell you about a nice comparison between Kopi and Ovi and Crosby. We'll tell you who the Kings have coming up next. And our guys, Jared Shaffron and Zach Dooley, guess where they are right now? They're in a very sad press conference, but nonetheless, they're there. They're going to grab sound from Jim Hiller. We're going to hear from the head coach of the Kings. He'll explain. He's going to figure it out. They're going to get it right. Stay Stick right here. We'll get your calls on the other side. 877-710-ESPN. I'm Sam Betesh. This is KingsTalk on ESPN LA, your home for LA Kings hockey. All right, Kings fans. All is not lost. 4-2 is the final here at Crypto. The Penguins did come out on the right end of this, and the Kings are 1-3-1 to start the early season here. But there's good news. This season has plenty left in it, and as I remind everyone, the Kings won 31 games right here in this building a season ago. They were the best team in hockey at home, and there is going to be good news in this building. For those that were here on this evening, you were here to see the Penguins, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and they both scored goals on this night. So that's the good news if you're a hockey fan. If you're a hockey purist, that's the good news. Now, the bad news is, as I've deemed this season the Kopi Tour, the Kopi Tour for Anze Kopitar. This was supposed to be Kopitar versus Crosby, an epic Hall of Fame matchup in the last game that they would play against each other in this building. They will play again in Pittsburgh, of course, but this was going to be the final matchup between those two. And it got me thinking as I was gearing up for this game today. Yeah, it was my birthday, but you know what? I was excited about seeing Jake at Crypto, and I was excited about seeing Crosby, Malkin, and Kopitar on the ice together. And unfortunately, the news before the game is that Kopitar, even though this is the Kopi Tour, Kopitar wasn't going to play. Kopi's foot is banged up. And for those that were watching the Minnesota game, the game in Minnesota, Kempe blasted a shot towards the net. It hit Kopitar right in the foot. You could tell Kopitar looks at Kempe like, man, what are you doing? And Kempe's looking at Kopitar like, no, you don't understand. I was going in the net. And unfortunately for Kopitar, we don't have him tonight, and there's going to be a few more games moving forward where we may not have Kopitar. The other piece of news that's unfortunate, Darcy Kemper, the starting goaltender, also out with a lower body injury. We should see Kemper back soon. I wouldn't even be shocked if we saw him in net on Saturday against Carolina. But two pieces of bad news. Again, the good news if you are a hockey fan is that you got to see Crosby and Malkin in action, and they were both on the score sheet. Now, what I like to do every night on KingsTalk, 877-710-ESPN, you can give us a call. Let us know who your three Kings stars of the game were. Now, I'm going to say a guy that I keep talking about as a star of the game, Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore was again all over the ice, and he's not on the score sheet, but Trevor Moore again had a game where I was tracking him all night, and Trevor Moore was all over the place in this game. Trevor Moore is somebody that if you're not watching, if you don't understand what Trevor Moore is doing, and again, he had assist in this game. He's also one of the only Kings with a +1 rating. Trevor Moore is skating well in this young season. Keep an eye on Trevor Moore. Again, he was outstanding in this game. And frankly, I want to give Warren Fogle a little credit also with his first goal of the season. I love to see that. And Quentin Byfield, again, was all over the ice, had numerous opportunities for the Kings, and he set up tons of plays. And I know even he thinks he should have played a better game because when it was 2-2, Byfield had the best chances to make it 3-2, and I know he wanted to cash in on that second period, and he did not. So he's disappointed. Now, again, thanks to Jared Shafrin, thanks to Zach Dooley, they both went down and got tremendous sound from after this game. I know you want to hear from the head coach of the Kings in Jim Hiller, but also we've got some sound from a few other players as well. First, though, I want to share with everybody out there, it was a disappointing evening, no doubt about that, but we really want everyone to understand and hear because, look, this is not about the first week of the season or the first 2 weeks of the season. I like to remind everyone, the NHL season is elastic, all right? There's an elasticity to this season, which means you can have moments where things look terrible, and as long as you come back with significant win streaks, it's going to be okay. And the Kings are very capable of that, and it will happen. And even though it hasn't happened right now, this team will figure things out, and this will level. Tonight, we can say the Kings were the better team. I mean, look, they were the better team in this game. The Kings were the better team, and there were two unfortunate penalties. But this is a game in which the Kings outshot the Penguins, and we know Anton Forsberg's going to say, I wasn't good enough. He's going to stand up in that locker room, and he's going to say, you know what? This was my chance. This was my opportunity, and I didn't live up to it. That's it. It really just comes down to that. Anton Forsberg knows that he was not good enough this evening in this building. Up 2-0, spotted a 2-0 lead. He was not good enough, and he knows that. 877-710-ESPN, 877-710-ESPN. Give us a call and let us know here. Your three Kings stars of the game in a 4-2 loss to the Penguins drops the Kings to 1-3-1. Also, let us know here which career you'd rather have. Would you rather have 20 seasons in L.A. as Anze Kopitar, 20 seasons in Pittsburgh as Sidney Crosby, or 20 seasons in D.C. as Alex Ovechkin? 4-2 loss. The Kings do fall to the Penguins. They fall to 1-3-1 on the season. And again, the three stars, as far as I'm concerned, from the Kings this evening, they were Trevor Moore, they were Warren Fogle with his first goal of the season, and Quentin Byfield again with another spectacular game, even though he was in the penalty box for that goal that made it 2-1. But we're going to go to the phones. We're going to connect with Raymond from Woodland Hills. Raymond, let us know what you thought of this game and maybe of the Kings so far this season.
Well, first of all, I want to wish you a happy birthday.
That is beautiful, Raymond. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for wishing me a very happy birthday. Yes, Sam is young at heart, but here with Jake and celebrating my birthday right here where I want to be at Crypto.
Right, but I want to tell you I love your passion for the Kings. I love your passion for the sport. And unfortunately, the Kings didn't win tonight for your birthday, but it's a long season. The Kings will turn it around. We've seen them do it. After all, as an 8 seed, they won the Stanley Cup, so anything is possible. So just keep the positive energy going and believe in the Kings because they will turn it around. They've got the players, especially if Kopitar's okay.
Well, we certainly hope Kopi's okay, Raymond. And Raymond, we'll get one more thought from you before we let you go. Thanks so much for the call on a tough night for the Kings. You know, this is what it really takes. You know, when you're a fan, you call when the team loses. It's not just about calling when the team wins. You got to understand. But as Raymond says, I like to remind everybody, the season is elastic, all right? There's plenty to find out over the course of a season, and the Kings are going to do that. And someone very smart, my father likes to tell me, and Raymond, I'll get your thoughts on this, you got to have not one good goalie, you got to have two good goalies. And guess what? This is a game that Anton Forsberg is going to learn from, and he will be a better goalie because of this game. And we need him to be great later in the season and in the playoffs should they need him. It's about having two goalies over the course of a season. Forsberg can't be that, and we will probably at some point see Phoenix Copley. Phoenix we will see in net at some point. He's here now on this team. They got him back from Tampa. Now, granted, he was a King to start the season at training camp, and then he was picked up on waivers from Tampa. Now he's back with the Kings. He's backing up Anton Forsberg, and we'll see, depending how long Kemper's out. But, Raymond, do you have three Kings stars of the game in this 4-2 loss? And tell me, would you rather be Kopi, Crosby, or Ovi? Raymond, answer those two questions for us if you can.
Well, for me, it's a very easy answer that I'd rather be Kopi. He's such a great guy, just not that I know him, but just from seeing him being interviewed after the games, he's very humble, and he's got, like you said, he spent his 20-year career in L.A., and, you know, I'm a Philadelphia boy, transplanted here. I'm here now for 49 years. I'm never going back east, other than to visit, and I'm here to stay, and so is Kopi. And it's Kopi all the way, even though Ovechkin, amazing career. Crosby, you can never say enough about him. Great player. And they're all going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, again, L.A. is where we live, and L.A. is where we want Kopi to stay, and that's the career I would want.
That's amazing.
3 stars tonight. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch a lot of the game, but I noticed Byfield, of course, again, had a tremendous game. And all we got to do is keep everybody healthy and just keep grinding, and we'll be there at the end.
Well, Raymond, I want to thank you so much for your call.
Have a happy birthday. Enjoy it, and we'll see you soon.
That's wonderful. Well, Raymond, I love calls like that. You gotta love a passionate caller like that who's here when the game it doesn't really go your way. And frankly, we got another call, Robert in Glendale. I want to hear from Robert in Glendale because Robert in Glendale wants to talk about the goaltending, which frankly we have to. And we can't hide from things. That's one thing we're going to do on KingsTalk. We're not going to hide from what happens. Now, we're not going to overreact, but we're also not going to hide from what really is going on. And frankly, the Kings were not good enough on this night, and we know they weren't good enough in net. So, Robert in Glendale, please try to follow up Raymond, who was a tremendous caller. I got to give credit to Raymond. That was a spectacular call here on KingsTalk this evening. But, Robert, what do you got in Glendale?
Hey, Sam. Pleasure to talk to you. First time calling in with you as the host, so congrats on the gig.
Thank you so much, Robert. That means a lot, especially on my birthday. People ask me today, Sam, what are you going to do for your birthday? What are you going to do for fun on your birthday? I said, fun? How about this? I'm going to paint you a scenario. You know what I get to do on my birthday? I get to go hang out with one of my best friends in radio, Jake Warner. I get to watch the Kings play a game, and then I get to talk about the game afterwards on the radio. And if Reese shows up, you're going to see it on YouTube as well. How about that? All right? How about that for my birthday? I mean, if I told anyone in this arena tonight that they could do that on their birthday, what would they say? Thank you for the greatest birthday gift of my life, right? So there you go. So that's my birthday. I love sharing it with you, Robert. Tell me what you got for tonight.
Yeah, so I wanted two things. I wanted to ask, you touched on it just a little bit with the Kings reacquiring Copley and what your thoughts were on that. My thoughts are that, he's a guy the Kings are familiar with, and they know how to play around him to maybe make his numbers play up a little. Not that they're bad, but they kind of know how to get the best out of him with how to play their defense around him. So I was happy with that move. I also don't think they really wanted to ever lose him in the first place. They just kind of had to put him on waivers, and he got claimed. Just wanted to know your thoughts on getting him back. And then I also just wanted to put my opinion out there, whether it's a popular opinion, unpopular opinion. Not a fan of the new logo. And so I know, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. The solution is to go back to the purple jerseys of my childhood. Those were the best ones. The problem with this one, the crown, the round things on top, I don't know if they're jewels. I don't know what they're attached to. We need those 1990s purple jersey, Ziggy Palfy, Joseph Stumple, Jamie Storr, that era jersey to come back, that era crown, and that will solve the problem of me not liking the logo. And that's it.
That's great. Now, Robert, I won't hold you to the 3 stars in the night, but I do want you to answer my second question. If you could have 20 years as Kopitar, Crosby, or Ovi, what would you take?
So it's got to be between Ovi and Kopitar, just because Crosby's still looking for that cup. And, Ovi, with his record breaking, that's, something that would be super cool to have under your belt. But for me, I got to go with Kopitar. 2 Stanley Cups, you get to live in L.A. and play hockey for 20 years, and that's pretty much all you need to tell me to have me sign up for that.
That's great, Robert. Well, thank you so much for the call. You did say Crosby. Crosby would be looking for his 4th cup, by the way. So remember, Crosby won 2 back-to-back, 2016 and 2017. And by the way, Dumoulin, the current King, was on that team with Crosby that won in 2016 and 2017. But the year I remember that I give, not that Crosby needs my credit, but the 2009 Cup against the Red Wings. Jake, I don't know if you recall, but that was a Game 7 that Crosby won in Detroit. And by the way, the year before, the Pens had lost to the Red Wings in that Stanley Cup final, and he came back the next year to play the same opponent. And in Detroit, which I got to tell you, Joe Louis Arena, Jake, have you been to Joe Louis? They call it the barn. Yeah. What's amazing about when I look at Crypto, you know how cavernous Crypto looks in comparison to Joe Louis? Joe Louis almost looks like just the lower rung here at Crypto. It really does. And yet, you would think that's not intimidating, but somehow cramped into that is all of the Stanley Cup banners. The banners almost touch the ice. That's how small the building. There's so many banners in there. They basically touch the ice. So you can just feel the history of the Red Wings being one of the greatest dynasties of all time. And for Crosby at that age to go in and beat the Red Wings in their house to win the Stanley Cup, to steal the Stanley Cup from the champs at the time and from the dynasty that I knew certainly growing up. Wow. That's when I said, all right, Sidney Crosby. I grew up in Philly as a Flyers fan. I'm supposed to hate Sidney Crosby, but respect, as we say, right? We just pound somebody and say respect. That was my moment where I said, all right, Sidney Crosby. So of all of them, I love the reasoning that Robert had for wanting to be Kopi. He gets to play 20 seasons in L.A. I mean, I think that's a pretty nice feather in your cap. All right, before we get out of here, I want to do 2 things. Jeff Cabot has worked very hard on something. Zach Dooley has worked very hard on something. And Jared Shaffron. They made sure that we could get sound after the game from Jim Hiller. They also made sure that we could get sound from Trevor Moore and Philip Deneau. I want to hear first from Deneau, and we'll talk a little bit about it because Deneau was the name that I saw essentially inserted for Kopitar to start this game. Let's hear from, I'm sure, a fairly disappointed Philip Deneau after this game.
A frustrating one for you guys. Just your takeaways on kind of where that one got away from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say best game 5-on-5. You know, get a lot of chances, just got to bury. But obviously the penalty kill goal and their power play goal as well. So I mean that's pretty much the game right now.
Third period, it felt like you guys had a lot of chances early, and then the shorthanded goal. How big of a backbreaker was that one at that point in the game? Kind of sunk the team a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough goal. I mean, obviously they got the winner at that. So I mean, we kept pushing all game and didn't go in. So they take advantage and they find a way to score.
Not every goal is the same on the PK, but for you guys when you're on the go, are there any areas you feel like maybe you just need to be worked on a little bit, or things you want to improve on?
I mean, it's a shot from the dot. I mean, I don't know. He's a good player. Like he's gonna find those little hole, and he found it. So, but maybe clear before that. It's a little mistake that ended up in the back of the net. Like they have really good players. Like every team has a good power play, so can't afford those mistakes.
Talking to Morsey, and he felt like you guys had enough chances throughout the course, and that was it just a matter of bearing down on the chances that you did have and finishing.
Yeah, 100%. It was just a matter of that. Could have buried many more than two. That's for sure.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
There's really no other way to say it. It was brutal. I mean, if this was a playoff game, this would have been a devastating loss that we would have talked about for years. It really would have been that bad. It would have been that bad. If this was a playoff game, it would have been that bad. It would have been. We would have referenced this as the game we lost to the Penguins in the playoffs. I mean, it would have been, but guess what? The good news is it's not. It's not the playoffs. It's early in the season. We're going to be okay. Things are going to be okay for all the Kings fans out there. 877-710-ESPN for those that want to call to get through. We're going to be out of here in another 3 or 4 minutes. But we got to hear also from Trevor Moore, who was one of my stars of the game. Trevor Moore, he is on the score sheet. He didn't score a goal, but Trevor Moore has been all around the net. The past 2 games, Trevor Moore has played well. He's got a shorthanded goal this season. He had 2 spectacular shorthanded chances in the game against Minnesota. And I thought he was going to win that shootout against Minnesota. Unfortunately, none of the Kings shooters scored in the shootout. I hate the shootout. I hate the shootout. I love 3-on-3. I hate the shootout. We're going to get that message through eventually. We're just going to keep hitting that. Gary Bettman, we're just going to keep hitting that 3-on-3 we just love it so much that the shootout just takes a backseat to that. I'm sorry it does. All right, so before we get out of here, let's also listen to Trevor Moore, who I thought really played his ass off in this game. And Trevor Moore is flying around out there. For those that aren't, I'm just telling you, watch Trevor Moore in these games. Now that I'm saying it, so this is back-to-back games where I have Trevor Moore as a star of the game. Trevor Moore is a difference maker on this team. Let's take a listen to Trevor Moore after this game.
A frustrating one tonight. Just your takeaways from where that one got away from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think another good start for us. Couple early, and then kind of let it get away from us in the second. But a lot of chances in the third. We just have to figure out a way to put a full 60 together.
Is that a game you feel like you maybe could have put away kind of early if you build on that start, maybe turn 2 into 3, and you could have gotten it to go from there?
For sure. But honestly, it shouldn't matter. I mean, we should be able to roll. Our 4 lines for 3 periods, 60 full minutes, and we should be able to just kind of put that game away.
I feel like you guys had enough chances throughout the course of the game to get the job done.
Yeah, I thought we had a lot of chances. We want to. I really think the pucks are going to start going in for us, and we're going to start feeling better. But at the same time, we got to bear down on our chances, and it's on us to put those in.
Look at Alex Turcotte, who ends your line. What do you feel he kind of brought? Seems like he's had a nice start to the year and got the chance to move up in the lineup a little bit.
Yeah, really good legs, talented kid, makes a lot of plays. I enjoy playing with him.
What do you sense the overall vibe of the team is right now? Obviously, kind of a slow start with a 1-3-1 record.
Yeah, I feel like we're a confident group. I think that we've shown that we can have really good periods, and then for whatever reason, it just gets away from us. PK's got to be better. That's on me especially. So. We just gotta put it all together, and we will. It's still early in the year. Can't panic yet, but we'll be fine.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, guys.
I love hearing from Trevor Moore. He's having a great season. I know there's not a lot. We're saying that it's rough so far, 1-3-1. But I like what Trevor Moore said. And he said, and by the way, Turcotte's another guy that now is going to get an opportunity. If Kopitar's not playing, if there's a couple games that Kopitar's not playing, and we're going to see more of Turcotte as well. And I'm glad Trevor Moore gave him a tip of the cap as well. But again, Trevor Moore back-to-back games that in my estimation, he is one of the 3 king stars of the game. And I'm sure Jim Hiller would agree with that. Now, I also want to go back to one thing, because the end of this game, Kempe, by the way, and Kempe's found himself in the penalty box too much also. And the reason I say that is because Kempe, I mean, look, Crosby was in the box twice tonight, so you can't say that the best players in the game don't end up in the box. And frankly, Crosby on the tripping penalty early in this game, didn't really think so. It was right over there, Jake. I thought it was a questionable call. I really, if that was against the Kings, we would have hated it. But Kempe, you just cannot be in the when it's a game you're trailing late. Kempe is going to be the guy that's going to tie this game up. He can't be in the box. He cannot be in the box, and it was a high sticking penalty. I do want to at least admit that the high stick was the Penguins player. He hit himself in his face with his own stick. It wasn't Kempe's stick. It wasn't even Kempe's stick. For those that were watching, I know you were so upset. That stick was not even Kempe's that hit him in the face, and that got Kempe in the penalty box, unfortunately, at the end of the game. So Kempe, there was a penalty being killed instead of ferocious pucks thrown at the net, the way the Kings they can do late in the game with the goalie pulled. Before we get out of here, we're going to look at the next game. Saturday, Jake and I are excited because we get to come back to crypto. That's the good news. We'll be right here in this spot, watching the Kings. They're taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Two things about this game. Number one, I'll get the fashion talk out of the way. Robert says he doesn't like the third jersey. Now, Jake, I will wear my new gear on Saturday. I'll show you the jacket I got with that crown on the back of my jacket. All right, I'm wearing the silver tonight. I'll have black with some cool white embroidery here for us on Saturday. It is what we're calling, I believe they're calling them Silver Saturdays, Jake. So on Saturday home games throughout the season, you're going to see the Kings in those awesome, and I'm sorry, Robert, I will call them awesome third jerseys. And I will admit, looking at it, as Robert was talking us through it, and I'm looking at this crest at center ice, Jake, I can see what he means a little bit about the crown. But as a whole, the crown is cool. And it's a reminder, LA Kings, they're kings. I mean, it is a great nickname. The colors are awesome. I think the third jersey is very cool. Whatever gear you can get with that crest on it, I would go for it. I will say, I am nostalgic enough to walk down that line with Robert and remember the purple. I'm looking at some purple seats here in crypto. I remember the Palfy days. I remember that silver with the purple. Those were cool looking jerseys. Those were great looking jerseys. I loved the color combo. But the logo I have here, the Gretzky 9, that logo is untouchable. Jake's got it on. I've got it on. That I bet you Jeff at the studio has it on as well. This is untouchable. Do not talk to me about this. Silver and black is absolutely the best. So do not take that away from me. It is exceptional. I love everything about it. And the third jersey that we're going to see on Saturday, that is a cool one. And if you haven't seen it yet, I absolutely want to see this. All right, we got one more call before we get out of here. I'm going to talk about the Hurricanes, and we're going to take this one call. I've got David. I think he's calling from Chino Hills. David from Chino Hills is on the line. I got to hear what David thought about this Kings game tonight. David, what do you got?
Well, sad to say the least. They're a better team than their record shows.
That's for sure.
I moved here 50 years ago when I was 21 years old, and I was a loyal Flyers fan in the era of Bobby Clark.
Oh.
Then I moved here, and a couple years later, I had a nephew who was born who I love, and he turned me on to the Kings and the Lakers and other LA teams, although our hearts were still in Philadelphia. And then I got engaged to be married here about 5 years ago.
Congrats, David.
Ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my fiance has season tickets to the Kings as well as the Lakers and the Dodgers. And,
wow.
Not to brag, but so...
We should all have a fiance like that, by the way. Did you hear that, everybody out there? David's got a fiance with Lakers tickets, Kings tickets, and Dodgers tickets.
And we should all have a nephew like my nephew.
Oh, well, I got to meet him.
Yeah. Actually, so I was shopping one day, and my fiance was taking me to a Kings playoff game, and I wasn't as familiar with the team as I was with the Flyers back in 50 years ago.
Sure, 74, 75. Yeah.
And I bumped into you, and I don't think you remember me, but maybe you did.
Okay.
I think I was in a Der Wiener Schnitzel or something at the time. And it might have been a Japanese restaurant in Pasadena, but maybe. I'm not going to advertise for anyone right now. So I ran into and I said, my fiance wants me to buy a jersey because she has a Kopitar jersey, sure. And I don't know which is the best one. And you looked at me and you said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, because I'm thinking of buying a Kempe shirt." And
Sure.
You said, "Dude," you said, "Gretzky."
There's
And
one
I'm
answer.
like, "Holy shit! What was I thinking?" Like, of course, I got to get Gretzky, you know. And so, thank you for that advice.
Well,
I went to the game. I had amazing seats. I got taken into a thing called the Ice Box.
oh yeah.
And I enjoyed the game from there, and I got many, many compliments on my Gretzky jersey. So thank you.
You're very
I just
welcome.
wanted to. I finally had the chance to thank you for that suggestion.
Well, that's amazing. Well, David, I think that
yeah.
the question that I was asking everybody tonight is appropriate for you. You said you're from Philadelphia, and now you're in LA with a beautiful fiance. And congratulations again. We're asking everybody tonight if you could spend 20 seasons as Kopitar in Los Angeles, 20 seasons as Sidney Crosby in Pittsburgh, 20 seasons as Alexander Ovechkin in D.C. And remember, they've all won cups. They've all had tremendous moments in this league. But who would you rather be? Would you rather wake up tomorrow as Kopitar, as Crosby, or as Ovechkin?
Okay, so I want to preface this first by saying the Philadelphia fans, and in other cities, you know, when they would announce, like, Sidney Crosby, you know, when they were playing the Penguins.
Sure.
And the fans would yell, "You suck."
Far
I don't
from
know
it.
if I'm allowed to say that on the air,
Yeah,
but
well, you just did.
You know, so I would be like, "Are you kidding me? Like, how the hell could you say to Sidney Crosby, you suck?" But I guess out of all of them, I think I'd have to go with Ovechkin.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think
I think for what he's compiling and the level of play he's at now, and the records he's breaking. Not that the other two didn't achieve the same status, but the answer to the question I just gave you.
That's fine. I think you're right. David, I want to thank you so much for calling on my birthday. It's very special. I do remember that conversation.
And by the way,
Yes.
happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry I didn't know earlier, or I might have sent you a gift card or something.
At least
at least a card.
At least something. Some mention
Yeah.
would have been nice. I mean, we're close enough at this point. But I remember that
But,
conversation. I do remember
I
that.
have to bump into you soon somewhere.
Hopefully.
You know, and break some bread with you. And
well, I would love to do that.
You were so humble when I met you. It was just a pleasure.
Well, David, thank you so much. And I do remember that conversation. And Jake, when people ask me, okay, Sam, I'm trying to get gear. I'm trying to find, what would be the right, which player should I, and people are thinking about this team and they're thinking about what shirt and what jersey should they have. And call me crazy. What's my answer every time? It's Gretzky. I mean, again, first of all, I guarantee you somewhere Jake and I are wearing Jordan stuff, right? I mean, like MJ gear, we've got plenty of that. And when it comes to hockey, that is the equivalent, right? I mean, it's Gretzky. So if you have a chance to wear gear that is truly Wayne Gretzky Kings related, I think that's the direction that you go in every single time. I also want to say, if you're going to get a shirt jersey, the best shirt you can buy at the Team LA store is actually a Luc Robitaille. That's the one that I like that you can get in the team store, the Team LA store. But David, thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Thanks everyone for being on the phones tonight. 877-710-ESPN. Thank you all for calling KingsTalk here on ESPN LA. And I just want to say for the next game, Saturday, that's the game that Jake and I will be right here. They're going to be wearing the third jerseys. The Carolina Hurricanes, I want to remind everybody, the Carolina Hurricanes were in the Eastern Conference Final last year. And they were in the Eastern Conference Final 3 years ago. This is a great team that couldn't get past Florida on two different occasions. Granted, the Florida team they lost to went to the Stanley Cup Final, obviously, 3 years ago, although they lost that one. And then the last two seasons, they've won the Stanley Cup. So Carolina is right there, and they are coached by one of my all-time favorite players ever, or as my friends like to say, ever. Rod Brind'Amour is a Philadelphia Flyer legend, and of course won the Stanley Cup as the captain of the Carolina Hurricanes. Now he's their head coach, and he is just a monster of a man. When he played, by the way, my cousin went to the 93 Stanley Cup Final. Sorry, not 93, the 99 Stanley Cup Final. And Rod Brind'Amour, he saw Rod Brind'Amour warming up in one of those sweat shirts. Those were like sweat wicking shirts. He thought it was a bodybuilder. He didn't even know it was Rod Brindamore. He thought it was a bodybuilder that was just skating before the game. It was Rod Brindamore. That's how chiseled he was. The Flyers did not win that Stanley Cup final. That was the Red Wings who swept Eric Lindros and Rod Brindamore in that final. But Rod Brindamore, head coach of the Hurricanes, you'll see the Hurricanes here on Saturday. Please come check out this team. Again, they were one step away from being in the Stanley Cup final 2 of the last 3 seasons. They lost to the Panthers in both of those Eastern Conference finals. They will be here. And I believe the final, let me check the final score. They were up big. They were up 4-1 on the Ducks before we hopped on here. And it looks like the final score of that game was... The Flyers did lose tonight, but in that game, it looks like the Hurricanes took care of the Ducks 4-1. The Hurricanes, they will be here, and then after that, and we will be right here on the ESPN LA app. That game, that's a 6 o'clock start on Saturday, by the way, Jake. So 5:30 pregame right here on the ESPN LA app. That's Saturday the 18th, and then Tuesday the 21st, the Kings will be back on the road in St. Louis. That is a 5 o'clock game for us in LA, a 4:30 Pacific time start on the air at ESPN LA for that game in St. Louis on Tuesday. But we will be right back here after Saturday's game in this arena, Crypto, looking at that crest, looking at the third jerseys. Thank you all for calling 877-710-ESPN. I'm Sam Betesh. It was a very happy birthday to share with all of you. As my friends now call me, I'm Sam Betesh, a.k.a. Sam Boney. I'm here with one of my best friends, Jake Warner, in radio of all time. I've got Jeff back in the studio. I've had all of you on the phones. We've been sharing a little, I'm not going to call it misery. We've just been sharing. This is an opportunity, as we like to call it. In a professional world, we say, this is an opportunity to do more. And that's what the Kings have. They have an opportunity to prove everybody wrong. 1-3-1. There's plenty ahead right here on ESPN LA, your home for LA Kings hockey. Thanks so much.